That's why. What? What? Where did he go?
John doesn't subscribe.
Hello everyone, welcome back again to the prehistoric Wildlands. We've had two awesome builds. It's been quite a while, we've been quite slow on videos, but let's check out, just real quick, these two builds before we hop into our new one that I'll be talking about for the next probably like 40 minutes. So, first, the air section is done. Continuing from over here where I did my lion habitat, Prehistoric PC and Jurassic built this awesome pavilion. I kind of want to add another entrance here so it's not so linear to this section, and maybe do some stuff with this garden. But anyways, we have this awesome circular viewing thing for our Parasaurotherium, which are not in here because we deleted all the animals since they just walk out of their habitats. But wow, this looks super cool, especially in game. Like, I saw it in the video, but it looks even cooler now that I'm loaded in here. Makes the PARASAUR Stadium stand out a lot more, which is nice. So yeah, that's a neat habitat for them. Very arid. It gets very arid in here. And then Prehistoric PC just built this awesome Velociraptor house, which has some cool architecture going on. And he's really good at doing these big buildings. It's open space. I'm pretty sure he put Microraptor, Archaeopteryx in here. And yeah, this is a nice habitat down here. And that kind of bothers me, that unflattened terrain, but you guys know how I am with unflattened terrain. And then that's cool, that's cool. Over here we got a little bit of food area. Alright, nice. Alright, so that's the two builds, just real quick. Now, let's talk real quick about what we're going to build today. There's a lot of the park left to build in just kind of a few episodes, so what we're building here is a gigantic mountain. Yeah, I want a gigantic mountain in this park, because that would be super cool. And then we have a little bit more room in the wetlands here. I think we're going to be building around here today. We're going to have an underground cave with Parasaurolophus. I think we'll have maybe a kind of ride to the top of the mountain where somebody else maybe will build. We're going to do a lot of work on these mountain ranges here, and there's still a ton of area in the jungle left to do after that Karkar habitat. I think somebody else is going to build here, and then I have a huge build to do for the tropical section. That'll be super fun. Hoping this build will be a little bit shorter than the past two, maybe 6 hours. And this is editing this. I'm going to be doing the voiceover for the rest of this video. So, it's not actually a 6-hour build. I think it will be in the end because we ended up only doing a portion of the build, mostly because I didn't have a lot of time to build, and I also thought maybe somebody else might want to build the shelter for the parasaurs, so I left a space for them. Also, now we retain our pattern of every other episode being a 4-hour build, that I do at least. I've been switching between a 4-hour build and a 10+ hour build, so who knows, maybe 3 weeks from now we'll be building another 10-hour habitat. So you can see I've just built the mountains here. I'm going to be doing more of this later, but what something that occurred to me was to have a structure like in the mountains. This is the little more alpine area, which is inspired by the Jurassic Park novel, where the upland regions of the island were alpine and most of it was tropical. So what I was doing here was I was just placing that up there so I could remember to build the structure up there, which actually turned out pretty nice. Building a guest section on the left. This cut that I made in the mountain, I'm going to cover that up with rocks and make it look like part of the mountain, but that's actually going to be the tunnel cave that's going to lead to where the para shelter will be on the other side of this mountain range. Not sure what that's going to look like yet, because of course we didn't build that today, but one thing that actually took me over an hour in this build, I think, no, not quite that much, but maybe 45 minutes, was working on these mountains that are that surround the lodge. And because they work fine as a backdrop, but when I need to actually incorporate them into the park, it's kind of a lot of work. And you'll see I'm using here the foliage brush that I don't use normally, but I think at this long distance, it's okay, I guess. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have used that ideally, but time isn't unlimited. So lots of rock placement in this episode, as usual. I do like this build in the end. I think I like it better than the lions. Maybe the dilos. I really like that food court I built for the dilos, but it's much better habitat work at least. So yeah, just lots and lots and lots and lots of rocks in this mountain. This episode would be so boring if I wasn't doing voiceover, even on 1000% speed, which I can't really speed it up much faster than this. And I already cut out a good portion, so yeah, that's what you're left with. I recorded this entire build in a single session. That was 4.5 hours. It's always fun to return to Prehistoric Kingdom. I'm kind of excited for when this series is done, we can work on another series in Prehistoric Kingdom. Because right now I just don't want to start a second one, which I've talked about before, so I won't talk about it too long. But yeah, eventually we'll be doing more series in Prehistoric Kingdom. Every time I just want to play the game more. It's so fun. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say about rocks. Placed a whole lot of them. I actually didn't originally plan for this valley to be the habitat, and we're using an underground tunnel system for transport. I did notice a good opportunity here for a waterfall, and I started integrating some other rock textures, especially that gravel that I used last time, which I love. It's thankfully also part of the Boreal set, which I was able to use a lot of terrain paints from the tropical section, which was really helpful in blending it with these mountains from the lodge, even though we do a lot of switches with the trees to trees we haven't used before. I think I did a decent job of blending it. It reminds me of like Universal Studios, where they blend their environments there. We're using the Alaskan cedars, I think that's what they're called, and a couple of different types of pine trees, including the North Folk pine that I've been using in every build in the series except for the first one. But because those are just such fabulous trees, they go everywhere, and now that we're using pine trees, it's great to have that variation. Unfortunately, we can't really make water go down that slope the way I'd like, because we just have a single waterfall piece that goes straight down at a 90-degree angle and can't be rotated. So yeah, what I was doing here is just making lines with that tropical darker rock, and then going in with that boreal lighter rock that has some moss on it. That I think is fine once you blend it, but it's not my favorite texture up close. So I'm placing some wooden supports around this building. I wanted it to have a little bit of, feel like a cabin kind of architecture, which I don't think I really succeeded in the overall build, but it did create a cool look going forward. It wasn't, again, like last build, it wasn't what I planned for it to be, but I do think it's good, what I ended up building. Just placing this around the side, I usually like to put some sort of rim on everything to make it just blend better, and I don't know. If you look at actual buildings, they're oftentimes like that. I didn't end up doing exterior and interior walls on this building because the entire thing is glass around the outside, and you'll be able to look in 360 view. I was just deleting one panel here because obviously people have to get into this building, so we're going to have some stairs. I was a little bit reminded of the Jurassic Park 3 aviary, so I used metal stairs, of course. And I've noticed basically all the colors I use are really dark colors in all these builds. I'll try to not do that in other series. It's just the easiest, but also I think it looks good. More rocks, of course. I don't know how many rocks I've placed in this. Probably like 30,000. Probably not quite that many, but a lot of rocks. A lot. So, you may be wondering about, if this is 360 view, you're going to see out into the open map of just the Tanzania map. And I've been thinking about what we're going to do with the rest of the wildlands that the zoo isn't covering. I have a plan for that, well, I won't tell you the whole thing yet, because I haven't talked much with Jay and PC about it, so we'll see. I think that I have a cool idea for that. But anyway, yeah, just placing these 4-meter glass walls. And this structure, while very simple, and I was able to build this in like 30 minutes, it's effective, especially when viewed from a distance. The view from the actual thing ended up quite blocked off by the rocks. However, it does have quite a wide view since it's on the tallest mountain in the entire park. You can see a good area. Not much of the actual parasaur habitat, unfortunately, but there is space here for another habitat that this will be able to see into very clearly. The animal information signs are still broken for me. And I also was unable to select them for some reason, which was weird. Like, reselecting them was incredibly hard. They had, like, a tiny hitbox or something. I don't know. I ended up using this tropical wood texture for the roof. At first, I didn't like just the flat roof. It needed something, but, and I didn't really know what to do with it. But I actually ended up liking that. And I think it looks pretty good. In the end, yeah, here you can see I was just trying some different stuff on the roof. Didn't like any of it. But I like this more modern look. I think having that flat top roof achieves quite well. Here's something I wanted to do was, I know we have a lot of food amenities, but I did want to build like a tea shop, which was just something kind of random that I thought would fit pretty far into the park. So I imagine this area is a little less developed. There's a lot of walking. I could see this just being a common stop. I'm just building a second height level in this building. It's not a second floor, of course. It's just a little bit something to give it a variation because it is honestly kind of a plain building, but this is where you order, and I'll put a table up here too. Just a small little building. The guest area here is quite small, which usually is the case in Prehistoric Kingdom because they take so long to build, as opposed to Jurassic World Evolution 2, where our parks are like mostly or like half guest section. In Prehistoric Kingdom, it's a little bit. I did want to create I don't know what they're called, like the water meditation walls, which we don't actually have like slow flowing water, we just have this rapid waterfall. So this is the best I could do. And I had to start using the moss pieces, which I had considered using a lot in this build, but I didn't, one, because in the habitats they mess with the Para's navigation, because they're hard to like walk on them and stuff. But yeah, I did use them here, and also it would have just taken forever to place this. It's like placing rocks all over again. And there's already like 1,000 rocks here, so this is kind of random, but I just copied this over from the Velociraptor Sanctuary. It really feels like modern architecture, and it's kind of just this weird decoration piece that I wanted to put in here. So instead of building, I just copied it from over there. And obviously there need to be more of this building for it to be managed by staff, and of course we're kind of ignoring what staff need in this park. We haven't built proper staff infrastructure. It's just kind of implied that it exists. Mostly just because that's too hard to plan, especially in a park that you have 3 people. When I build my own parks on this channel, we will be doing actual staff infrastructure. Maybe not according to the game's logic. We won't be, like, you know, progressing through the research tree and stuff, because I don't want to. Yeah, I think realistic staff areas is kind of important, but I think for something like this, it's fine just to have it implied that it exists. Here, another waterfall. I use water a lot here. I also tried to form a continuity with the rivers, which we'll see in a minute. But basically, here I'm just surrounding this water pool with rocks. Kind of like it's reflective, because that's the only still water we really have in the entire game. Again, just copying these tables and chairs because I think these are really nice tables and chairs. Very useful. And yeah, they've been used all throughout the park at this point. Prehistoric BC built them. They feel very realistic. I was going to use the path here, but the path in the game is so limited, and this just felt a little bit more natural. Using these concrete squares feels a lot like a real national park, which is something I was trying to do with this. I live in America, and we have a lot of national parks. It's pretty well known. But anyways, so I realized that if this valley down here is going to be the para habitat, and also we need a way for people to get to that round structure on the mountain, there needs to be some kind of way for the guests to complete the loop of the park. So this is the entrance to some kind of underground, maybe subway, or literally just a tunnel that you walk through underground. That could be kind of cool. Maybe they even have a guest area down there. Oh, what if we like... Okay, I just got an idea that I might do, or somebody else can do this. What if we implied that there was like an aquarium underground? That would be kind of cool. Like, imagine you walk into this tunnel, and there's just water tanks with prehistoric fishes, and it's super dark, and they have cool like purple and blue lighting, and it's we could build like the facade of the building, and that's where it puts out. So that's way it's implied that that's where they went. But anyways, that's for another episode. Right now, just trying to blend the rocks and The rocks, for me, in this game is the equivalent of the Fluffy Bush in Evolution 2. They have, like, no hitbox, you can overlap them with anything. So wherever the shapes need to be irregular, and you can't just place them, you can just use rocks and blend anything, and it makes everything feel more natural. Especially in a park like this, that's good because we want a natural feel. Using a lot of glass in this building because there's not much lighting, and I do think in the end this building looks pretty desolate, especially at nighttime, and it's not very decorated. I would like to decorate it more now that I think about it. Somebody else can do that. Here, I just remembered that in the Alpine section, we had said that we wanted to use a lot of Stone Age influence here, and I just kind of didn't, because my default is just modern architecture at this point. But I did try to incorporate that in that roof here. Just making a sign. I was going to make an original sign for this tea shop, but that was going to take forever, so I just used the T-Rex sign. Here, I'm trying to switch to a path, and this is one of the limitations of path in the game. It gets so wonky when it's anywhere but flat terrain. Like, this looks like a perfectly smooth hill, but no, you can't place path here, because the path has to flatten the terrain, which isn't toggleable. And it's just impossible to work with, which is why I usually just place like singular stretches of path in my parks, which is why I often have these natural feeling areas, because I just block everything off with rocks and trees, which is one thing that works. So I'm using these concrete slabs to make stairs, because these are very irregular stairs. They don't look good per se, but it does feel very much like something that would be in a forest or national park, especially around here. I don't know about other places, but you know, there's just a lot of these here, poured concrete. This is how you walk places through the forest, you know? That's kind of just become the thing, the words that I say, you know, whenever I don't properly explain something. But, yeah, this irregular kind of feels neat. It feels very real, and I think it helps establish that we're, like, pretty far into the park. So, something I wanted right here. Well, you'll see I placed that path. One, that's just to suggest where that can be connected to the wetlands. Jurassic or Prehistoric PC, you can move that if you need to. Don't delete the part that I built around, of course, but if you want to build something there and connect it. Else how... Is that a word? It is now. You're welcome to do that. I do think that wood plank, that dark wood plank path, actually worked pretty well. At first I wasn't sure about it. So yeah, just completing the concrete here, and I'm using the rock cladding pieces sideways as a kind of natural barrier so that people don't accidentally fall into the habitat. I'm sure some people would, on purpose, easily get into this para-habitat. They definitely could, but I didn't want to do like a mesh wall everywhere like I normally would in a more populated area of the zoo. Again, just reinforcing the feel that this is in the mountains. It's the Alpine, what's the word? Just land of, yeah, I don't know. I think you know what I mean. I don't know if I've explained that properly, or if I'm just saying the same thing redundantly, and you're all like, we get it, just say something else in your narration. Yeah, so I was just gonna have this be mostly rock texture and put some rocks in there, but, well, you know how that will turn out. By the way, the Adobe Clay texture is the most useful texture in the game. It's like the concrete texture, but better. It's one of the only things that, like, you can move without it just clipping everywhere and doing that weird wonky thing. So, that was really nice to use for all that. And it's also got curved pieces on the roof ridge caps and stuff. And, yeah, so just using the cliff pieces a lot more than you normally like to. I'd like to have a lot more variation in my rock texture normally, which is why we need more rocks, so that we can have multiple cliff pieces and stuff. But, yeah, turns out, I just ended up making this entire thing a rock cliff, and the rock texture is pretty useless. It's only Evolution 2 where I ever use that. So, I probably should have cut that out. I was standing there for quite a long time, but it's fine, now that I've done narration, I'm not going to. So yeah, see, I wanted to leave these patches, but it just turned into this, which in the end does look way better and more natural. I actually do like how this looks, these rock cliffs, and it helps the valley feel very much like a... I love how it feels balanced between, this is clearly fake barrier, this is an artificial barrier we've put here, but it also looks like it's in the environment, it's made of rocks, it feels like the kind of thing that would be in a nature preserve that's where the animals are still contained, but it's not like a really popular zoo. So, yeah, I started to lower the terrain here, but I didn't end up doing that, and I started working on this tunnel, which I was going to have lead to a cave, but I think it's going to lead to a barn, which could be a cave. Who knows? And just blending this with the mountain, which I knew the mountain was going to be a ton of rock work, which it was. It was a lot of rock work. And I think I did a decent job blending this. At first, it looked really weird, and I wasn't really sure what to do with it, but I ended up pulling the rocks into this area where I used the tree brush, which is super weird still. And it ended up looking alright. This is obviously a unnatural tunnel. This has been carved out by some sort of equipment, but it looks alright. I think it feels like something that would actually be built. I mean, no, not actually, because why would you go to the effort to dig out part of a mountain just so the PARASAUR office could have transport to the barn when you could just build the barn right there? I guess, and that would only work in a really specific case. There I was using the Admontosaurus statue as a scale reference, which is something I do a lot. You saw me do that in my last episode with the Carcharodontosaurus, using that for scale. So yeah, now it's time to do the rock work on the mountain. I didn't want to entirely cover it with rocks. I want it to be kind of similar to lodge mountains. These cliff pieces are so useful, just growing these and having them be like enormous and just sink them into the ground. You can do so much with those. Create these rock veins that leave spots. I don't think the mountain ended up perfect, but because it's not actually quite tall enough, as gigantic as it is. You can't see it from guest eye level from the entrance, which is something I wanted to do. You can see it from like normal camera height from the entrance, but I guess it does help the park feel more expansive in a way. It's like as enormous as this mountain is, you don't even see it till you're close to it. And considering this is by area, not a very large park, I think that's kind of nice and helpful. I guess most Prehistoric Kingdom parks aren't that large by area, but yeah, still, yeah, this isn't a very large park by area, even for Prehistoric Kingdom. I actually have no idea what most people build in Prehistoric Kingdom, because no one makes content on this game, unfortunately. Not no one, but there's very few builders. I think I can name like 3, well, including me, and PC, maybe, okay, 5, maybe, channels who consistently make YouTube videos playing Prehistoric Kingdom. Jurassic, aside from this series, only plays on Twitch, which is nice. You should go watch his streams, by the way. And, you know, there's me, Prehistoric PC, there's a couple other channels, but most of them even focus on other games. Like, a lot of the people who I see playing this game are really Planet Zoo players who pop in to this game from time to time. It does actually quite well for me on views. I guess that's nice. I love playing this game, not just playing it for the gameplay itself, but on the channel, because it feels a lot more original than my Evolution 2 builds, which aren't that great compared to some other people's and aren't that original. Well, I mean, they're not unoriginal builds particularly, but, you know, I feel like these are more unique to me and how I like to build. And again, that's kind of the good thing about there not being many people playing it. I hope that changes once the full game release happens. I think I've done this rant before, but anyways, I was just following the path of the river because we have some spots in this park where the rivers kind of just stop, and I added some gates for them to connect. So I'm having this river that flows from the lodge go out through this habitat and through the mountain, supposedly groundwater, and then out into the rest of the wildlands. And that river starts, so it goes through the Carchar habitat. We don't have any current in there because there's no waterfalls that have been placed. So then that crosses over the bridge at the entrance, goes through the wetlands, it goes into that, it goes underground there, turns, goes through the lodge, through the Brachy habitat, through the Para habitat, and back into the wildlands. So right now the river starts at the Carchar habitat, and I guess it could put out, I guess it can go through, whoever is building there, Jay, I don't know where you'll be building next, but if you are building in the tropical biome, make sure you don't have that river flowing the wrong direction. That was not proper grammar at all. Make sure that river doesn't flow the wrong direction, and don't put it out of the park yet, because I want to use that in another build. So that would be kind of nice to have a river that ties the whole thing together, but it's still drawn from the outside wildlands. I used a ton of these, the sword ferns. This is basically in the place of the elephant grass, because the elephant grass doesn't work for this biome. I absolutely love these plants, and ferns are some of my favorite plants in real life. They fit this biome, but they also feel prehistoric, which is nice. Here I had to delete some trees, so there's a view, which kind of looks weird from a distance, but it's the best I could do in this case. I did realize how hard it was to see, so I placed some stuff to fill out that building. The buildings here are not that decorated. To be honest, I do think this is kind of a lazy build, but it looks good from the outside at least. So now I was a little bit stumped with what to do to the habitat, so I just started placing gravel texture as always. By the way, that Prehistoric Kingdom habitat building tips video is on the way, probably not for a while, to be honest. I have well, I know what next week's video is. It could be the week after that, before my next turn in Wildlands, but who knows, maybe there'll be news on something. I might do a another type of video by then, before then. It could be in 2 weeks. No promises on that, of course. For those of you who've been around the channel for a while, you know how my scheduling goes. By the way, if you're watching this and you're 26 minutes into the video and you're not subscribed, why? Ian Malcolm told you to subscribe at the beginning. If you're still here, you're probably enjoying the video, or maybe you just can't pause it, or for some extreme reason. Maybe a flash flood came through, and the devices being watched on got washed down river, and now it can't be stopped, which is why this has such an high view duration compared to my other videos, because it's just being played on loop. I have no idea what that bit was, but anyway, just added some more trees. Thank you guys, if you're still here, for watching all the way through this build. Now we will walk through in real time as I add in our Parasaur. Alright, let's tour our build just completed. We started the Alpine section. No idea what I've done in the voiceover, because I'm recording this as I build. I built this all in one session. I think we're at about 5 hours. It's dark outside, I don't know. So yeah, somebody else can build here later on. There's definitely space for another build in this biome. But yeah, let's walk down this trail. I love how these sword ferns crowd the space. You'll notice I used the tree brush, which I may have mentioned already, but you're welcome, Rob, for actually using the tree brush a little bit. I think I did a pretty good job with immersiveness in this build. It feels like it actually, fills up space. It doesn't feel like I see the tropical trees too much, even though it's right over that hill. We got that waterfall cascading down to this little pond. Alright, that building here actually I think looks pretty nice, if I say so myself. We got a ground view perspective into the Parasaur habitats. They all seem to have gone immediately into the tunnel. Okay, that's good to know that they do like... Oh, did he just step over this? Back out to where we were. Alright, hopefully now they won't just walk away and they'll have to wait a whole 5 minutes between escapes. Alright, yeah, so here we get our ground view into the para habitat. This looks super nice, I think. Very atmospheric. Again, not exactly what I was originally going for, but it's a cool vibe. Makes me want to build a full alpine coastal boreal park. And then here we have these super uneven steps, which feel very realistic to be in a nature preserve kind of space. This feels a little dangerous, but I don't know, live a little. Just kidding. I might change that, it's probably fine though. That mountain looks pretty nice. Distance, but yeah, that looks nice. I might put that in the background of the logo, and then we have our little tea shop, which is something I want to build. I built this very differently than I wanted to. I like this little elevated bit. It's not very bright in here without the lights, but it gets the point across. This is where you'd have your bartender, your table, you know. And this is open. Maybe there'd be glass here, but I like that kind of idea that it's just like right in front of your face. And they're now stuck here. That's kind of funny. Oh, because this guy laid down when they were walking there, I guess. Assume that's why. What? What? Where did he go? Well, we may have some issues with them escaping, which is why we're deleting animals, because that's a little bit broken in the game right now. But hopefully once the barn's in there, it should be fine, because they won't get stuck. They'll just walk through. Anyways, yeah, we got our little cafe. I like this angled roof. And for transport to the rest of the park and to that little round cabin structure on the mountain, we got this thing, which would be an underground elevator or tunnel or whatever. This is actually a fairly large build by area. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. We'll have a couple of cinematic shots here just to end the video, but I'm not doing a full cinematic like I did last time, because this wasn't a big long project like that. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for the next episodes.